Well, hello my loves and happy Sunday to you. I am doing things a little bit differently today because I gave myself permission to take a week off. And so when you see this video, it'll be after Christmas, and I decided that I needed just a little bit of a break and some rest in between Christmas and New Year's. And so I am going to show you an old video that I did probably more than 3 years ago. And it was one of my very first videos for DecoArt Media Design Team. And it's kind of cringe-worthy. The video style is well, you'll see. The quality of the video is not great. What I did was very simple. I didn't use any stencils. I used, of course, some DecoArt media supplies, and I'll explain all of that in the video. However, I decided that I thought, since I was going to take a break and I still wanted to have a Sunday inspiration video, that I would show you an old video. And I keep all my old videos on my YouTube channel because I really think it's important for those of you who are beginning to create, or are beginning to start something new, or are trying something new, whether it be art or a job or a relationship or whatever it might be. We're all beginners at some point in everything that we do. And so I keep my YouTube videos up that are just terrible. I mean, I was going over them this last week, and I'm thinking, oh Lord, should I take these down? But I think it's really important for everyone to see that everyone starts somewhere. And it's not pretty, and you take a risk and you just go for it. You just start where you are. Everyone is a beginner at some point. And so that's why I'm showing you this video, even though it has lots of room for improvement, but this was quite a while ago. The content is good, and it's a great lesson that don't give in to your fear of being a beginner at anything that you want to learn or do or create or be. And don't compare your beginning to somebody else's middle. For me, at my stage of my business and my art journey, there's always someone who is better, who's had more years of experience than I have. And so that will always be the case. And I cannot compare myself to their middle and think that it's my beginning. So I want to encourage you today to never ever give up on anything that you want to start or do or dream or become because you are afraid of being a beginner. I want you to jump in and just start where you are with what you have, with the talents and the gifts that you have right now. Because the more you use them, the more you practice, the more anything that you want to do, whatever it is, the more you do, the better you get. And then at some point, someone will look at you and think, oh man, I wish I could be this like them, whatever it might be. So loves, I encourage you to start. Just start. Whatever you might be afraid of, and embrace the beginning, because the beginning is really, really awesome and scary and all of those things. Whether it be a job or a relationship or learning something new, a new language, traveling, all of those things, creating, start. Just start. Don't wait another day. We're about to go into a new year, a new 2020, a new decade. And I don't want anything to hold you back. I want you to really go for your dreams, whatever that looks like. So as I take this time off, and I didn't create this week, I'm giving you this video to remind you that everyone starts somewhere. All right, my loves, I hope that you have a wonderful Sunday, and that you usher in the new year with wonder and awe and peace and courage, and that you start taking actions one step at a time to whatever you are dreaming about for 2020. All right, my loves, have a wonderful Sunday, and always, always know that you are loved.
Shawn Petite for Deco Art Media Design Team with today's project. What I wanted to do, this is different than how I normally do things, but what I wanted to do was go over a couple things really quick to help your project go smoothly. Because sometimes Crackle glaze and things like that, Crackle paste can be a little sketchy sometimes as far as technique and that kind of thing. I will say that Deco Art's Crackles are by far the easiest that I've ever worked with. So this frame was something that I found at at Goodwill, and it had this black finish underneath. It was beaten up, it was tired, it did not look good. There was no sealer, shiny, nothing. It was just done for. And so I thought it would be perfect for a project or something. So this is obviously not finished, but it takes a little bit of time to dry. So I did this ahead of time, and I'm going to show you how I did this. So I'm going to set this aside for a sec. And this is something that I practiced on first. Let me grab my palette knife. And you can see this side's still a little wet, but this is all dry and the crackles are gorgeous. So this is Deco Art Media's Crackle paste, and it is so fun to work with. But what I wanted to just kind of give you a tip on, and most of you probably already know this, but as you're working with your palette knife, you want there to be skips and little blank spaces, and some a little heavier and some a little lighter and that kind of thing, so that it looks really grungy and aged and a little bit natural, so that it's not all even. And because that's not how nature works, right? So when you're applying your Crackle paste, you've got just a bit of Crackle paste on your palette knife. And a lot of times people will, I'm going to put this down, will use just the side edge of their palette knife to apply it, and it's almost like you're scraping it. And sometimes that's good because you want a very, very fine coat. But for the most part, you want to be able to smooth it. So I've got it on an angle, and then I flatten it out. And it provides that little skip as see those little skips that you're as you're gliding across your surface. And that comes from your palette knife being flat. So I'm going to go, so you can see that is beautiful to me. So if you're scraping, you're pulling that away and you're leaving very little material on your surface. And you want a good coverage, in between the skips and things like that, because let's go back to this frame here. The thicker it is, the larger the cracks. The thinner it is, the smaller the cracks. You can see some areas here where I dragged it with the edge of my palette knife. There's no crackle, and then the thicker it got, the more crackle happened. So there is some really large crackles, very large crackles here. So I just wanted to show you that to help you kind of get the feel. And if you're doing it on a frame, and this has a little edge, I just took my palette knife and ran it along the edge, just like that, and the crackles are beautiful on the edge too. And then I put a little dab in here and I smoothed it out with my finger. This is actually going to get I'm going to set this aside. This is going to get a ultra matte varnish finish. This crackles so beautifully that it's starting to flake off, which I love. I love that because that's how a good crackly piece of furniture that you would find somewhere is. but I don't want it to change too much more, so I'm going to put some ultra matte varnish down, and then I'll create my wash and color and everything over the top of this. This ultra matte varnish is perfect for sealing everything. So I'm going to set this aside and then go over a couple other things really quick with you. Also for this project, this is just some kids air dry clay. It's nothing special. I made a heart out of it. I just kind of balled it up, rolled it out, and scrunched it in. One side's got some texture on it because I put a stamp on it, and one's flat. And I'm going to use the flat side because I want the technique and the crackle and things that I'm going to put on top of it to really show through, and it wouldn't do that with the texture, with as much texture. So I'm going to do that. Then I'm working on a wood panel. This is probably thicker than I would like for the frame, but it will work. So if you have anything sturdy, strong, whatever, that'll work great. I photocopied some book pages for the background. And then I'm going to be using a very kind of neutral palette with the exception of the heart. So I've got burnt umber, titanium white, carbon black, quinacridone magenta, Titan buff, and then I'm also going to be using some Americana glazing medium, and I'm going to be using Crackle glaze for the heart. And glaze is different than paste. Glaze is clear, shiny, so you can do some different cool effects with that. I'm going to be using some gesso to kind of neutralize the background, and then matte medium to put my papers down. So I think we have covered all of it.